During the May Day holiday, my family went on a trip, and my mom secretly canceled my train ticket. She thought the sleeper ticket was too expensive, and told me to skip paying for the ticket by getting off at a different station. However, there were too many people traveling during the holiday, and the train was severely overcrowded. I didn't even get a chance to buy a ticket, and was forced to get off the train early that night. I was brutally beaten to death by a group of thugs in a desolate wilderness. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. On the day I bought train tickets for the whole family. Yeah, why did you buy sleeper tickets? They're so expensive. Hurry up and refund them to buy new ones. Just switch to standing tickets and buy only one stop. Let's wait until we get to the destination and find a chance to skip the ticket. It could save us a few $100. I heard my mother's voice beside my ear. Only then did I realize that I had been reborn. My mother stood before me, looking as if she had my best interest at heart. This May Day holiday, our whole family went out to have fun, and the expenses were just too high. Mom is doing this for your own good, hoping you can save some money. Hearing these insincere words from my mother's mouth, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. If my mom really cared about me, she wouldn't have made me cover all the family's travel expenses by myself. In my previous life, my mom used the excuse of celebrating my new job at a big company to have me take the whole family on a trip during the May Day holiday. I agreed without thinking much about it at the time. I stayed up for several nights researching and planning, and even paid extra by camping out to snag a sleeper ticket. I thought my mom would be pleased, but as soon as she saw the price, her face fell. My mom said the sleeper ticket was too expensive. It's too wasteful for our whole family to all take sleeper berths. So they insisted that I change my sleeper tickets to standing tickets. Let your brother, sister-in-law, and nephew take the sleeper berths, and change our tickets to standing tickets. Mom will stand with you. My mom specifically instructed just by one stop. When we get to that stop, we won't get off. When we reach our destination, we'll find a chance to rush out. I didn't agree and tried to persuade my mom for a long time. First, fare evasion is illegal. Secondly, tickets for the May Day holiday are particularly hard to come by. I put in a lot of effort to get mine, and even a sleeper seat can be quite comfortable. I've always believed that when traveling, if it's within your financial means, you shouldn't be stingy with money. Besides, I'm spending my own hard-earned money. I thought my mom would listen to reason and stop causing trouble. But the night before we were supposed to leave, while I was taking a shower, she took my phone and secretly canceled my sleeper ticket. I went ahead and bought a train ticket for just one stop, and it was standing room only. When I was checking my ticket that day, I found out that my destination was different from everyone else's, and I was completely stunned. But my mom was right there lecturing me again. You sit in the office all day at work, so standing more now is good for your health. The money saved can be used to buy more clothes and toys for how I'm doing this for your own good. Once on board, my first thought was to find the conductor to pay for my ticket. However, there were simply too many passengers, and the conductor was completely overwhelmed. I was squeezed and jostled in the middle of the crowd, the noise of curses hurting my ears, and someone even took advantage of the situation to grope me. The mother who said she would stand with me is now lying in the sleeper with my brother and sister-in-law. When I was being squeezed to the point of suffocation, she called me. I thought my mother was concerned about me and wanted to ask about the situation in my carriage. Little did I know she was just showing off to me. Yeah, you are absolutely right. The sleeper is so comfortable. It's just like lying in my own bed at home. I was so angry that tears welled up in my eyes. After the train arrived at the station, the conductor finally appeared. Just as I was about to go and pay for the ticket, I was told that there were too many passengers during the holiday, and the train was overloaded. To ensure that passengers with tickets can board smoothly, the arriving passengers had to disembark. Inside the carriage, tourists were shouting angrily, and as the argument flared up again, I grabbed my belongings and stepped out of the car. By then, the sky had completely darkened with thunder rumbling and heavy rain falling in torrents. My whole body ached, and all I wanted was to quickly find a place to stay and get some sleep. However, while passing by a secluded small garden, I was dragged in by a group of drunken hooligans. In the end, I died in that garden with my clothes in disarray. Since heaven has given me a chance to be reborn, I will not let the tragedy of my previous life happen again. When my mother's questioning voice sounded once more, I held my phone, smiling as I said to her, "Mom, you're right. I'll change the tickets to standing tickets right away." Then I directly opened the ticket buying app and changed all the tickets for my mom, my brother, sister-in-law, and nephew to standing tickets, and only bought one stop. I only kept my own sleeper ticket to prevent my mom from secretly refunding the tickets. I also changed my phone's lock screen password and payment code. The day before departure, my mom came over specifically to confirm with me. Yeah, are you sure you've changed all the tickets to standing tickets? Right. I lifted her concerned face and smiled slightly. Mom, don't worry. I've already changed them to standing tickets. And as you suggested, I only bought one station, which saves a lot of money. My mom smiled with relief. See, I told you so. Once you get your salary next month, give all the money to me. You young people can never save up. My sister-in-law was fiddling with the new clothes she had bought from Taba in the living room and immediately chimed in. Yaya, don't be so extravagant with your spending. You should learn from me. Look, the clothes I bought all have a 7-day no-reason return policy. After the trip, I can still return them to the seller. My mom and sister-in-law echoed each other, but my heart was chilled to the core. In my previous life, when they arrived at their destination, my body lay in the park, washed by the rain several times. My soul drifted in the air, watching everything that happened afterward. When my mother couldn't get through to me on the phone, her first reaction wasn't to ask if I was in trouble, but to complain to my brother and sister-in-law. This girl really has a temper now. It's just making her stand for a while, and she dares not answer my calls. If you ask me, we shouldn't have brought her on this trip. We should have gone to have fun by ourselves. Later, when my mother learned of my death, she rushed to the scene of the incident that very day. She cried with tears streaming down her face like pear blossoms in the rain. And with the help of the media, she made a huge scene after the police caught the murderer. My mother not only received a huge compensation, but also became the pitiful mother who sought justice for her daughter. However, she immediately gave the compensation along with all the property I had left behind to my brother and his wife. After my mother brought my body home, she buried it in a random place without even holding a funeral. In the end, I became a cold corpse, while my brother and sister-in-law lived a carefree life with the compensation money for my murder. My sister-in-law even complained that it would have been better if I had been killed after getting married, so they could have earned another dowry. Every detail of my past life is still vivid in my mind. I never expected that the relatives I treated with all my heart would only want to squeeze value out of me. In this life, I will never let them have their way. Yeah, you should buy fewer brand name items. Girls should know how to save. If you don't know how to save money, just give it all to me, Mom, and I will help you manage it together. My sister-in-law's words snapped me back to reality. On the surface, my sister-in-law was sharing some money-saving tips, but in reality, she just couldn't stand me spending too much on myself. They would love nothing more than for me to eat nothing but chaff and vegetables every meal, contributing all my money to the household. I went along with her words and said, yes, you're right, sister-in-law. By the way, I also canceled the order for the new bag that my sister-in-law asked me to buy for her last time. The next day, our family arrived at the train station after waiting in a long line to check tickets and enter the station. My sister-in-law's expression seemed a bit off. She turned to me and asked, Jenu, why did the ticket checking machine just show that I have a standing ticket? My mother also hesitantly stepped forward and said, could it be a mistake? Yaya cares so much about us. She wouldn't want us to stand the whole way. My sister-in-law said with great certainty, I didn't see it wrong. It showed standing tickets just now. My mother and brother also looked at me suspiciously, asking what was going on. At that moment, the train had already stopped at the platform, and passengers were lining up to scan their ID cards to board. The sleeper car is at the other end. Just as I was about to walk forward, I heard my mother lower her voice and say, yeah, you didn't change all our tickets to standing tickets, did you? Hearing this, I looked at my mother in confusion and said, Mom, didn't you say the sleeper was too expensive and asked me to change them to standing tickets? So, I changed all your tickets to standing tickets. Seeing their stiff faces, I added, oh, and I followed Mom's advice and only bought one stop. We're definitely going to save a lot of money this time. My mom got anxious and slapped her thigh, blurting out the truth. Oh my goodness. I wanted you to exchange your own ticket for a standing one, not all of ours. I pretended to be surprised. Mom, we're all traveling together. Why would you want me to exchange my own ticket for a standing one? My mom looked embarrassed and stammered. My sister-in-law, who was standing nearby, immediately raised her voice upon hearing this. Are you out of your mind, you old hag? Such a long journey. And you actually bought us standing tickets. I still have to take care of how. I don't care. You better figure out a way to get us sleeper tickets right now. My brother pretended to come over and said to me, Jangyu, this mess is you're doing, so you better come up with a solution. My mother was in a difficult position, unable to dissuade her, so she could only look to me for help. But the train was about to leave. How could I possibly get her a ticket, But wasn't it Mom who told me to change it to a standing ticket? You all heard it in the living room. You didn't say anything at the time. As soon as these words were spoken, my brother and sister-in-law were left speechless. My mother sighed. Forget it. Forget it. We'll just buy the ticket after getting on the train. Yeah. Go help your sister-in-law carry the luggage onto the train. I waved my hand. Mom, I'm in a different carriage from you, so I can't help. She widened her eyes. Aren't you on a standing ticket yourself? I thought Mom said to change yours to standing tickets. So I changed all of yours. I didn't change mine. Let's not talk about it anymore. The train is about to leave. Let's get on board first. As I turned and walked toward the sleeper car, I heard my brother and sister-in-law complaining behind me. Mom, why did you ask her to change to standing tickets? Look, we don't even have seats now. How is still young? How can he stand for long? My mother whispered softly. It's fine. We can still buy tickets on the train. We'll have you pay for them and get our tickets sorted out then. Even at a time like this, they still want to trick me into paying. They wish I bought a soft sleeper which not only has a separate door, but even the bed space is much larger than an ordinary hard sleeper. After lying on it and playing with my phone for a while, I dozed off in a daze. Not long after, my phone started vibrating. It was a call from my mom. Yeah, hurry up and help us get tickets. This train car is packed to the brim. My back is killing me from standing. Oh my God, don't step on me. The phone was filled with bustling noise and my mom started arguing with someone nearby. Perhaps from arguing too fiercely, my mom's voice had grown a bit hoarse. Yeah, I really can't take it anymore. I've been standing for over 2 hours. My feet and back are numb. And Ha has been crying non-stop, giving me a headache. In the brief pause of her speaking, another curse came through the phone. Whose kid is this, grabbing people like that? Then came my brother and sister-in-law's voices. Mom, hurry up and tell Janu to get us sleeper tickets. I don't want to stay here for another second. If it weren't for you making her refund the ticket, we wouldn't be going through all this trouble. At that moment, I spoke calmly. Mom, don't worry. When the train attendant comes, I'll buy you tickets. In my previous life, when I was being squeezed to death standing in the aisle, they were lying in their sleeper berths and didn't even bother with me. Now, they expect me to consider their situation. Don't be such a hypocrite. Not long after, the train slowly pulled into the station. My mom's sharp voice came through again. Yeah, it's bad. The conductor is going to make us get off the train. Just like before, there were too many holiday travelers, and many people hadn't bought full tickets, causing the train to be overloaded. To ensure that passengers with tickets can board smoothly, we can only let the passengers who have arrived at their destination get off first. Immediately after, my mother got into an argument with the train attendant. Why are you forcing us off the train? We want to buy tickets. The attendant explained once again the reason why they were being asked to get off. But my mother wasn't having it, stubbornly insisting, I don't care. I'm not getting off. I haven't reached my destination yet. But the conductor had a valid point, and my mother couldn't argue with her. So she started blaming me instead. Janu, look at the mess you've made. You bought us all standing tickets for the same station, but you got yourself a sleeper for the entire journey. You're enjoying all the benefits alone while making our whole family suffer. Before I could even speak, I heard the flight attendant's voice on the other end of the line. Your son and daughter-in-law don't know how to buy tickets. They're right here, and you still need your daughter to help them. Besides, your daughter managed to buy a full journey ticket for herself while you only bought one stop. Are you trying to skip paying for the rest? My mother raised her voice again, shouting angrily. What nonsense are you talking? Who are you accusing of fare evasion? I'm going to file a complaint against you. The train attendant was also getting angry. If you refuse to cooperate, we'll have no choice but to call the railway police to handle this. I lay on the bunk, not even changing my position. Mom, there are too many people. I can't squeeze through right now. If it really comes to it, you'll just have to get off first and then buy another ticket to come back. My mother and the others initially refused to cooperate no matter what. But when the railway police arrived, they had no choice but to obediently get off the train. On the other end of the phone, my brother and sister-in-law were also cursing and complaining. My mother shouted until her voice grew hoarse. I'm so angry. Just now, someone bumped into me and I hit my forehead, breaking the skin. Yeah, remember to buy our train tickets this time. Don't get standing tickets again. I agreed verbally, but after hanging up the phone, I immediately went back to sleep. Once I thought my family didn't favor sons over daughters because my mother always bought me beautiful clothes and gave me all the meat on the dining table. When I had disagreements with my brother, she would clearly take my side. In a rural area where girls are favored over boys everywhere, I was able to receive such treatment which once made the little girls around me envious. I also kept this kindness in my heart. When I grew up, the first thing I did with my salary was always to buy gifts for my family. I repaid this family without any regrets just because I thought they loved me. My mother told me that she used to favor me, saving all the good things in the house for me, and felt guilty towards my brother to help my mother make up for her guilt. I didn't hesitate to pay and help her with the down payment. I always thought that my mother gave all her love to me, so I always wanted to desperately make it up to them. It wasn't until after I died, as my soul drifted, that I learned the truth from my mother's mouth. My mother counted my savings and said smugly, "Jen Hua, listen to your mom." I was right. Giving your sister a little treat when she was young means we can get a lot from her when she grows up. It was from that moment I realized that all the so-called favoritism since childhood was just an illusion my mother had created for me. She gave me all the meat dishes at the dinner table, but in the evening, she called my brother to the kitchen to give him extra food. When I was a child, if I wanted something, my mom would buy it for me and then emotionally manipulate me. She would say, yeah, our family actually doesn't have much money left, but as long as you want it, Mom will buy it for you. Even your brother doesn't have this. Mom treats you so well, so when you grow up, you must repay Mom and your brother. Her kindness to me is merely to make me feel guilty towards my family so she can control me in the future. My mother shows favor to me in trivial matters, but favors my brother in major issues. This is what she calls treating everyone equally. 5 minutes later, my mother called again. Yeah, have you bought the ticket? Oh my. The station hall is also packed with people. It's so crowded. Ho is being squeezed and keeps crying. When will you be able to buy the tickets? And now it's pouring rain outside. If we go out, we'll be soaked through. Hilarious. You're standing in the station hall yourselves and still trying to boss me around to buy tickets. On the other end of the phone, the sound of thunder mixed with my nephew's crying was making my ears ache. I didn't even bother opening the ticket buying app and just said, "Mom, the tickets for the May Day holiday are too popular right now. I haven't been able to get any." My mom got anxious as soon as she heard this. What should we do then? What else could we do? Just let it be. But I still calmly reassured my mom. "Mom, we won't be able to get tickets anytime soon, so getting anxious won't help. How about you all leave the station first and find a place to make do for the night? We'll figure something out by tomorrow." My mother was reluctant but had no choice. So, she said to me, "Then we'll stay nearby for the night. You can transfer some money first so we can book a hotel." She spoke with such confidence as if I were a 24-hour ATM that could spit out gold coins for her anytime, anywhere. "Mom, the signal is bad here. I didn't hear what you said." After saying that, I hung up the phone without caring about my mother's shouts on the other end. The next morning, the train arrived at the destination. Following the travel guide I had prepared in advance, I began my Mayday trip. I checked in at famous food spots, visited popular attractions, and searched for the sense of belonging that was missing from my childhood amidst the bustling crowds. However, a noisy ringtone disrupted my moment of tranquility. I picked up my phone and saw that it was my mom again. This time she had completely lost her previous arrogant demeanor and her tone of voice was much weaker. Yeah, have you bought your train ticket yet?" I stopped in front of a snack stall. "Mom, the Mayday train tickets are all sold out. I haven't managed to get one yet." On the other end of the phone, my mother's voice trembled slightly. "How could this happen? What should we do now? It was raining heavily yesterday and we couldn't get a taxi outside. All the nearby hotels were fully booked. We ran through the rain to a very remote area before we found a hotel. But Haha has a slight fever from getting wet in the rain. Your sister-in-law fell and sprained her ankle last night. And your brother doesn't know how to do anything. Yeah, can you come back and take us to the hospital?" By the end of her words, my mom's voice was choked with emotion while munching on the skewer in my hand. I tried to plate her. "Mom, the train tickets are just too hard to get. Even the return tickets are impossible to snag." Then what are we supposed to do?" On the phone, my sister-in-law is moaning in discomfort. My nephew is crying non-stop. And my brother was complaining while taking care of the child. My mother was also sobbing quietly, urging me to think of a solution quickly. Now your brother and sister-in-law are blaming me for speaking too much. But I only reminded them out of good intentions. They just don't understand my good intentions. But all of this is their own doing. What does it have to do with me? "Mom, I won't be able to make it over there anytime soon. You should go find a hospital and get checked out first." But as soon as I finished speaking, my mom changed the subject. Yeah, how about you transfer some money to us first for the medical expenses?" I didn't say a word and hung up the phone directly. "You brought this on yourself and now I have to pay the medical bills. Do I look like a sucker to you?" After hanging up the phone, I immediately switched my phone to airplane mode. Then I continued with my enjoyable vacation trip over the next few days. My mom also called several times, but I ignored her each time, using poor signal as an excuse. During that time, I also took many photos and posted them on my social media. That night when my phone rang for the third time and seriously interrupted my video browsing, I finally picked it up to answer. Yeah, why haven't you answered your phone all day? Mom, the signal here is bad. I didn't hear it. My mom mumbled on the other end of the phone, then lowered her voice and said, yeah, it's fine if you want to have fun. But why did you post those photos on your social media? Your sister-in-law just saw them and is really upset. How ridiculous. I went out to have fun. Posted a few photos on my social media. What does she have to be upset about? My mom sighed again. Yeah. Just let her have her way after all. She's your sister-in-law. Don't make her angry, or your brother and I will have a hard time. She's been scolding me all day today and giving me dirty looks. It was the same before. Whenever my sister-in-law had any dissatisfaction with my family, my mother would act pitiful in front of me, asking me to cheer her up. As a result, I spent money and effort. But not only did they not appreciate it, they even complained that I didn't contribute enough. I tried to smooth things over. Mom, you're overthinking it. My sister-in-law isn't that petty. My mom wanted to say more. Maybe you should buy her a gold necklace when you come back. Before she could finish the word necklace, I hung up the phone again. I was busy enjoying myself every day, eating, drinking, and having fun. As for placating my sister-in-law, that was naturally left for my mom to handle. After a few days of travel, my originally gloomy mood was completely swept away. Indeed, letting go and immersing myself in the journey is the most healing. By the time I made my way home, my mother and the others were already sitting in the living room. However, their expressions were dark and gloomy, and my nephew even had a fever-reducing patch on his forehead. As soon as I walked through the door, my sister-in-law said sarcastically, you seem to have had a great time. I bet you've already forgotten all about your family. Hearing this, my nephew picked up a toy and threw it toward me. He kept saying, bad auntie, bad auntie. I glanced coldly at the scene and said, how that toy you threw was bought by your aunt. Since you don't like it, I won't buy you anything in the future. After saying that, I bent down to pick up the toy and threw it directly into the trash can. My nephew was frightened by the sudden turn of events and immediately crouched on the ground, wailing loudly. In the past, I cherished him dearly because he was my nephew. In the end, despite all my efforts and money, I ended up raising an ungrateful wolf. My sister-in-law was immediately displeased. She stood up abruptly and said, Janu, what do you mean by that? My mother quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Oh, Yaya loves house so much. She must have thought the toy was old and wanted to throw it away to buy a new one. My sister-in-law snorted coldly, and then my brother started criticizing me as well. All they said was that I only cared about my own happiness and didn't care about the well-being of the family. They were caught in the rain for most of the night before finally finding a shabby little inn, only to discover there was no hot water for a shower, so everyone ended up catching a cold from the drenching. My nephew had a fever and cried non-stop. The next day, going to the hospital for treatment cost over 1,000 yuan. My sister-in-law's foot still hasn't healed properly, and she walks with a limp. On the table, a pile of receipts lay spread out. My mom said with a smile, yeah, look at all these medical bills. Shouldn't you reimburse us for this money? I hadn't even had time to put down my luggage. And hearing this, I was stunned, my eyes wide open. You got sick, so why should I reimburse your medical expenses? My sister-in-law immediately became unhappy. If you hadn't changed the tickets to standing ones, causing us to get off midway, we wouldn't have gotten sick. And how is your own nephew? Do you have any idea how much he suffered with that fever? I put down what I was holding in faint surprise. No, that's not it. Mom asked me to change to a standing ticket. Right, Mom? My mother's face turned pale, holding the stack of documents, unsure whether to put them down or not. After forcing a few awkward laughs, she asked me, what about the gold necklace? Didn't I tell you to bring one back for your sister-in-law when you mailed it? Hurry up and take it out. At the mention of the gold necklace, my sister-in-law straightened her back and looked at me with a smug expression. Mom, what are you talking about? What gold necklace? I looked completely bewildered, as if I had no idea what was going on, which left my mother utterly stunned. My mother tried her best to explain. I made it very clear to you over the phone that I wanted you to bring a gold necklace when you came back. I suddenly understood. Oh, I remember now. The signal was bad last time and I couldn't hear anything towards the end, so I didn't hear anything about the gold necklace at all. My mother softly called out that gold necklace. Of course, I didn't buy it. With those words, I went into my room to take a shower. When I turned on the shower, the sound of an argument erupted outside. Mom, Didn't you guarantee that she would definitely reimburse us for the medical expenses? I don't think she wants to pay at all. And what about the gold necklace? Mom, you swore she would definitely buy it. I already told all my good friends that I'd have a gold necklace soon. Now she hasn't bought it, and I've lost so much face. My mother quietly reassured her, saying she would cover the medical expenses and promised to take my sister-in-law out to buy a gold necklace in a few days. My sister-in-law finally calmed down. As I walked out of the bathroom with a smile, I happened to see my mother sitting on my bed. Mom, why did you come in? She smiled warmly, looking at me with a kind expression. Yeah, you must be exhausted from traveling these past few days. Right. Don't take what just happened to heart. You know, Mom loves you the most. My hand, which was drying my hair, slowly came to a stop. Mom loves you the most. I've heard that phrase since I was little. When I was little, she would say to me after fulfilling my requests, Mom loves you the most. But as I grew up, every time she said this in front of me, it came with an agenda. I put down the towel in my hand and lowered my gaze to look at my mom. Mom, what do you need from me? My mother didn't answer directly. Instead, she started talking about things from my childhood. She talked about how the family had to tighten their belts during difficult times to ensure I had enough to eat and wear, and how my older brother had always been so tolerant of me. After going around in circles, my mother finally got to the point. Your sister-in-law said she wants to buy a school district apartment in the city, so your nephew can have access to better educational resources when he moves up to higher grades. Of course, Mom isn't necessarily asking you for money, but you and your brother have always been close since you were kids. So, you wouldn't just stand by and do nothing, right? My mom keeps saying she doesn't want my money, but she likes to use those little favors from the past to set a trap for me to fall into. She wants to maintain her image as a loving mother while also trying to squeeze money out of me to benefit my brother. But she can't have all the good things in the world to herself. I just said, Mom, I'm tired and want to rest early. Let's talk about anything else tomorrow. My mom nodded and had just left my room when I heard her talking to my brother and sister-in-law. Don't worry, I've already made it clear. She will definitely contribute the money. Early the next morning, my mom asked me again in front of my brother and sister-in-law. Yaya, how much are you planning to contribute towards your brother's purchase of a school district house? My sister-in-law rarely smiled at me, but this time she did. Yaya earned such a high salary. She can definitely cover the bulk of it. As for me, I remained utterly bewildered. Mom, what money are you talking about? The smile on my mother's face faded a bit. I told you last night your brother wants to buy a school district house. Oh, that matter. Didn't you say last night that I wouldn't need to contribute any money? As soon as I said this, both my brother and sister-in-law looked at my mother. Mom, what exactly did you tell Yaya? You clearly told us you would have Yaya cover the majority of the cost. So why is it different when you're talking to her? My brother was being loud and straightforward, speaking directly. My sister-in-law also stopped smiling and put down her chopsticks. My mother anxiously stammered to explain, No, I didn't mean you shouldn't contribute. That wasn't what I meant last night. At that moment, I deliberately sighed and said, Mom, if only you had said so earlier last night. I was actually planning to lend money to my brother and sister-in-law for their house. But since you said last night that I didn't need to contribute, I put all the money into a fixed deposit. And now I can't withdraw it at all. After hearing this, the look in my brother and sister-in-law's eyes as they stared at my mother was almost murderous. My mother grew even more anxious to explain. Yeah, you've misunderstood me. What I meant was that you should contribute at least a little. Contribute at least a little right now. I can't contribute even a bit. My sister-in-law's face turned ashen. Mom, we were supposed to sign the contract with the real estate company today. Now that the money isn't ready, that house is so popular, it's definitely going to be bought by someone else. My mother turned to look at me. Yeah, are you really out of money? She hesitated for a moment and said to me, Why don't you borrow some money online? I heard it's really easy to borrow money online these days. I looked at my mother in disbelief. Mom, just so I can contribute money for my brother's house. You want me to take out an online loan? My mother waved her hand dismissively. Oh, it's not a big deal. With your high salary, it'll be easy to pay back. My sister-in-law sneered upon hearing this. Your brother only finished middle school before dropping out. Yet, the family supported you all the way through college. It's only right that you help him out more now. I retorted with a cold snort. That's not right, is it? As I recall, it was because my brother's grades were too poor and he spent all his time hanging out with a bunch of troublemakers, refusing to study no matter what. That he dropped out. Don't make it sound like he sacrificed for my sake. That's a completely different matter. My mother didn't expect me to say this and was taken aback. Yeah, how can you say that? Have you forgotten how your brother always gave you the chicken drumsticks at the dinner table when you were little? I calmly reminded her, Mom, on the surface, you're giving me the only meat in the house. But in the middle of the night, you always let my brother go to the kitchen for a midnight snack and special treatment. What he eats is far more abundant than what I get from childhood to now. Every single thing you've bought for me. You've deliberately reminded me to be grateful to the family in the future. All of this is just to make me willingly sacrifice myself now. Right? My mother couldn't keep up the act anymore. She spoke stiffly. I don't care what method you use. If you can't get 500,000 today, you won't be living in this house anymore. My brother and sister-in-law looked smug as if kicking me out of the house had caused me some great harm. In fact, the first thing I did after being reborn was to buy myself a house. This time, I came back just to pack my things and move out since my mother took the initiative to speak up. I'd rather not stay here and look at their ugly faces. When I finished packing and walked out, my brother had his arm around my sister-in-law's shoulder and said, Don't be fooled by how tough she's acting now. In a few days, she'll be crying and begging for our forgiveness. I carried my luggage and walked out without looking back even once. After moving into my new place, I invited some close colleagues over for a lively meal. We had a particularly fun time that day. But after everyone had left, my mom called me. Yaya, do you know you were wrong? As soon as I answered the call, I was stunned by this question and stood there for a long time, unable to gather my thoughts. How can any hotel outside be as comfortable as home? Just bring the money back obediently, and we can go back to how things were before as a family. That home only maintained a superficial harmony because I was the one spending money. I happened to have had a bit to drink and was feeling slightly tipsy. Mom, listen carefully. It's me who doesn't want that home anymore. After hanging up the phone, I posted all of today's photos on my social media feed with the caption, Happy housewarming in no time. My WeChat and phone were completely flooded in WeChat. My brother sent countless messages questioning me. Janu, you bought a house. Didn't you say you had no money? My sister-in-law is even more furious. Janu, if you're leaving, why did you take all those designer clothes and jewelry you gave me before? You already gave it to me, and you have the nerve to ask for it back. My mother frantically called me, demanding to know why I had secretly bought a house on my own, and why I didn't use the money to buy a house for my brother instead. She then asked where the new house was located and suggested that I should just transfer the ownership to my brother. If that wasn't possible, she said I could adopt my nephew instead. To these words, I only replied, you wish. I used to buy a lot of brand name bags and jewelry for my sister-in-law, but now I've taken them all back and listed them for sale on second-hand platforms. As for the pile of things I bought for my nephew on my way out, I took the opportunity to tidy up and threw everything into the trash since they didn't appreciate my kindness. They shouldn't expect to take advantage of me in the slightest. After showing off what needed to be shown off, I blocked all their contact information. I'm just glad I moved my household registration out during my college years. Now they have nothing to threaten me with away from the vampire family. I worked like a fish in water and quickly got a promotion opportunity. However, before I could enjoy a few days of peace, my mother actually came to block me downstairs at our company. As soon as she saw me, she put on a smile and begged me. Yeah, I was wrong before. Please don't be angry anymore. Come home with me, okay? I responded indifferently. I'd rather not. Unexpectedly, my mother suddenly burst into tears. Yeah, it's all my fault. Please don't blame me. Ever since you left, your brother and sister-in-law complain every day that there's no one to buy things for them anymore. They even blame me for driving you out of the house. No, they're constantly criticizing me. Now, your sister-in-law says that if you don't come back, I shouldn't return home either. Yeah, could you please, for my sake, have some pity on your mother? Back when I died so tragically, she didn't show me any pity while dividing up my assets. Mom, it's the duty of children to support their parents. If my brother and sister-in-law are unwilling to take care of you, you can take them to court. As soon as my mother heard this, she raised her voice and shouted, How could I possibly sue your brother? If you're unwilling to sue, then that's a matter between you two. It has nothing to do with me. You don't want to be the bad guy, yet you still want to take advantage. She really thinks I'm easy to bully. My mother was clutching my clothes at the company entrance, crying pitifully. And in the end, she even tried to kneel down to me, but I didn't give in. I absolutely cannot become their family's cash cow again. However, things were not that simple. After sending my mom away while watching videos back at the new house, I ended up seeing myself. My brother and sister-in-law had secretly filmed my mom begging me and posted it online, claiming that I bought a house, but was unfilial to my own mother, deliberately kicking her out of the house. They portrayed my mom as pitiful and painted me as a heartless, unfilial daughter. In no time, the video went viral. Netizens have been criticizing me, with some even threatening to dox me. The overwhelming wave of curses has alarmed my colleagues at the company. They all came to ask me what exactly had happened. I looked at the pile of videos and let out a cold laugh. My brother and sister-in-law pulling this stunt is simply asking for trouble. I acted just as quickly, compiling all the chat recordings from over the years where my brother and sister-in-law asked me for money, along with all the receipts and documents for the expenses I've covered for the family over the years. Then I laid out the whole story clearly and in detail, attaching the receipts and payment records to prove that I've been supporting the entire family all these years. I also thoughtfully created a PowerPoint presentation to make it easier for netizens to share and circulate. After finishing all of this, I fell into a deep and restful sleep. The next day, public opinion completely reversed. Netizens who had been harshly criticizing me turned their attention to my brother, sister-in-law, and mother instead. Seriously, the older brother doesn't work and relies on his sister to support the family. What a freeloader. Tisk. Look at that list of expenses. Even his wife's sanitary pads are bought by his sister. How pathetic. Actually, I think you're focusing on the wrong thing. The most despicable one is clearly their mother. Exactly. How can there be such a sexist person in this world to buy a house for her son? She even forced her daughter to take out online loans. Hey, take a closer look at that old lady's face. Isn't she the one who refused to get off the bus after evading the fare on May Day? In the end, my brother and sister-in-law's account couldn't withstand the pressure and was directly deactivated. But my mother's face had already been captured very clearly. Later, when she went out to buy groceries, people cursed and shunned her and then filmed and uploaded it online, sparking intense discussions. In the end, my mother called me crying, saying that everyone on the internet was cursing her, and she was now too afraid to leave the house after all this drama. They didn't dare to provoke me again. But just half a month later, my sister-in-law and brother started fighting for a divorce. My brother doesn't have a job. In the past, with me supporting them, the family seemed to be doing okay. Now I don't care about them anymore. Things at home are getting worse day by day. My mother didn't agree and insisted on fighting with my sister-in-law for custody of the child. As a result, my sister-in-law accidentally let it slip that my nephew isn't actually my brother's biological son. My brother was furious, feeling utterly humiliated, and got into an argument with my sister-in-law on the spot. During the argument, my brother picked up a fruit knife and stabbed my sister-in-law several times. In the end, my sister-in-law collapsed in a pool of blood and stopped breathing. My brother was taken away, charged with intentional homicide, and sentenced to several decades in prison. My mother came to me in tears, begging me to find a way to get him out and save my brother. To this, I simply said calmly, "Mom, if you hadn't always spoiled my brother, he would never have ended up like this. In the end, it was you who harmed him." On the other end of the phone, there was a long silence. Then, my mother burst into loud sobs. Has she truly repented? Perhaps she's just resentful that her sister-in-law cheated on her brother. Or perhaps she's also resentful that I refused to help. In any case, it doesn't matter anymore. After all, I have my own life to live, and I don't have the energy to worry about her. When I saw my mother again later, she had become completely deranged and mentally unstable. She was picking through trash, asking everyone she met, "Have you seen my daughter? She's so filial. She wouldn't abandon me." My nephew was still following behind her, but the child looked impatient as he reached out his hand to ask my mother for money. "Grandma, you promised to give me 10 yuan today." My mother lovingly patted his head. "When Grandma finds your aunt, I'll have her give all her money to you." I stopped looking at her, turned around, and left that place, stubborn and unrepentant. "You are not worthy of my pity at all. That so-called home from the past has nothing to do with me now. No, I wake up every day in my own house, watching the rising sun outside. Another beautiful day has begun." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the eve of graduation, my sister-in-law suddenly vomited at the dinner table. Thinking of her 3 months without a period, I suggested taking her to the hospital for a checkup. But my mother-in-law slapped me wildly. "Your sister-in-law is well-behaved and sensible. How dare you, as her sister-in-law, slander her? How disgusting. How did our family end up with someone like you?" Later, my sister-in-law's pregnancy test results were discovered by a classmate, and after the school found out, she was expelled. However, my sister-in-law spread rumors that I had hired someone to harm her. My mother-in-law hated me to the core and together with my sister-in-law pushed me from a tall building. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my sister-in-law started experiencing morning sickness. The sound of retching echoed in my ears. I opened my eyes, staring at the familiar scene before me, and for a moment, I was dazed. Then, it suddenly hit me. I had actually been reborn. At this very moment, my sister-in-law, Fun Wan Wan, was leaning against the dining table, vomiting uncontrollably. My mother-in-law anxiously spoke up beside her. "What's going on? Why are you vomiting out of nowhere? Is it because the meat your sister-in-law bought wasn't fresh?" My mother-in-law spoke with a face full of anger, raising her hand as if to slap me. I dodged it and said coldly, "She hasn't even eaten yet." In my previous life, on this very day, Fun Wan also couldn't help but vomit when she smelled the pork at the dinner table. She hadn't had her period for over 3 months, and she had often used the excuse of going to a classmate's house to stay out overnight. I kindly reminded my mother-in-law to take her daughter to the hospital for a checkup, but she went into a frenzy and slapped me on the spot, accusing me of spreading rumors about her daughter. Later, my sister-in-law's pregnancy test results were discovered by a classmate who reported it to the school, and she was expelled. Yet, she threw dirt at me, claiming that I had someone harm her and make her pregnant. Not only did my mother-in-law and sister-in-law join forces to push me off a high building to my death, but they also disguised it as an accidental fall. After my death, they casually threw my body into a mass grave. I treated them like my own family, never expecting they would treat me this way. I am filled with intense hatred, but fortunately, heaven has eyes and has given me a chance to be reborn. Now, there are only 6 months left until the college entrance exam, counting the days. If nothing unexpected happens, Fun Wan's due date is right around the time of the exam. This time, I want to see how Fun Wan Wan will end up. I picked up the bowl and chopsticks from the table, eating my own food without saying a word. Seeing this, my mother-in-law reached out and poked my head. "Si Tang, are you even human? Can't you see how miserable your little sister is? How can you eat so calmly?" I smiled slightly and brushed her hand away. "Little sister is still young and she's not pregnant. Vomiting a little is no big deal. Maybe it's because the college entrance exam is only 6 months away and the pressure is high. The weather has been cold lately and she might have caught a chill from studying late at night." As I said this, I kept my eyes on Fong Wan Wan. Hearing the word pregnant, a flicker of panic flashed in her eyes and she quickly followed my lead, saying, "Mom, sister-in-law is right. I probably caught a chill from studying late at night. It's nothing serious. I'll be fine after resting a bit." My mother-in-law immediately chimed in with concern. "You silly child. Studying is important, but your health matters even more. This afternoon, have your sister-in-law buy you some seafood to nourish yourself." I crossed my arms and leaned back in my chair, listening to my mother-in-law shamelessly utter those words as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I forgot to mention that the house this family is living in now is one I bought myself before marriage. Most of the daily expenses and spending are also covered by me. I used to treat them as family, thinking that there was no need to be overly calculative within a family. So I worked tirelessly without complaint, but in the end what I got in return was a fate of dying without a complete body. My own parents were already in poor health, and upon hearing the news of my death, they were so overwhelmed with grief that they both ended up in the hospital. Meanwhile, the Fun family without any sense of guilt took over my house, used up my savings, and happily lived out the rest of their lives. This time around, don't even think about it. Since the meal was almost finished anyway, I tossed my chopsticks onto the table and stood up. "I have a meeting this afternoon, so I can't go. You go by yourself." After saying that, I headed straight for my room. My mother-in-law shouted after me, "Siang, what do you mean by this? Aren't you going to wash the dishes? Come back here." Every day I cook the meals after returning from work. And after eating, I'm the one who washes the dishes and sweeps the floor. This whole family just sits back and enjoys the food without lifting a finger. How carefree they are. But similarly, each and every one of them is a heartless and ungrateful person. After entering the bedroom, I immediately locked the door from the inside, ignoring my mother-in-law's loud shouting. It wasn't until the afternoon, when it was almost time to go to work, that I went out. By then, my mother-in-law was no longer at home. As I passed by Fong Wan's room, I could only hear the sound of her anxiously making a phone call coming from inside. What should I do? "I think I'm pregnant. When are you taking me to the hospital for a checkup?" "Go by myself." "Where would I get the money?" "All my money has been used for your living expenses." "Enough. No more nonsense. You have to take me to the hospital for a checkup this weekend." "All right, I can't talk anymore. My sister-in-law is still at home, and it wouldn't be good if she overheard. A rustling sound came from inside the room as Fong Wan emerged from the bedroom. As soon as she pulled open the door, she let out a scream. "How are you here?" I smiled at the corner of my mouth, looking at her without saying a word. Fong Wan was extremely flustered. "Sister-in-law, you didn't hear anything, did you?" I shook my head. "I was just about to go to work and passed by your room door." "What's wrong?" Fun Wan saw that my expression didn't seem fake and slowly let out a sigh of relief. She raised her head toward me, her face full of sarcasm. "Nothing much. It's just that my sister-in-law's time is so precious now. You're not even willing to buy me some nutritious supplements to help me recover." "I've never seen a sister-in-law like you," I replied calmly. "Well, now you have." Fun glared at me angrily. I couldn't be bothered to deal with her and simply turned around to walk out. The moment I stepped out of the house, I sneered and turned off the recording on my phone. I hope that from now on, Fong Wan can still manage to be sarcastic and insinuating. After coming back from work, I saw the dining table covered with seafood, especially the crabs, which were placed right in front of Fong Wan. My mother-in-law with her back to me was urging Fong Wan, "Hurry up and eat. Finish it all before your sister-in-law gets back." I chuckled, and my mother-in-law was startled by the noise. Turning to meet my gaze, she sneered, showing no trace of embarrassment, instead speaking with a sarcastic tone. "Oh, look who's back. The busy one. Let me tell you, I cooked tonight's meal and I bought the groceries. Don't you dare touch a single bite." Having long seen through the true nature of the Fun family, I felt no ripple of emotion upon hearing my mother-in-law's words. I glanced at the crab on the table. Fun Wan was initially hesitant, but upon seeing my gaze, she immediately became alert. Without a word, she pulled all the crabs in front of herself and started eating. I wasn't the least bit surprised. Even if Fong Wan knew that pregnant women shouldn't eat crabs, she would be afraid that I might eat them, holding on to the hope that nothing would happen if a pregnant woman ate them. She would finish all the crabs herself. But her luck did not succeed. By the time she ate the third one, Fun Wan's stomach started to ache. She couldn't help but let out a cry of pain, which frightened her mother-in-law. Sit-on, take Wan to the hospital quickly." I calmly sat on the sofa without making any move because I knew that going to the hospital was out of the question if we went. Wouldn't someone be exposed? Sure enough, Fong Wan with a pale face grabbed her mother-in-law's hand and spoke weakly. "Mom, I'm fine. I just ate something bad. I'll be okay after going to the bathroom." That's what she said, but the worry on her mother-in-law's face was still evident. Thinking of something, I narrowed my eyes and then pretended to be concerned as I spoke. Wan, you were vomiting at noon and now your stomach hurts at night. Could it be gastroenteritis?" "Wait here. I'll go buy you some medicine." My mother-in-law glared at me. "Hurry up and go." I quickly ran out of the house. At the entrance of the residential area downstairs, a group of Andes were sitting there cracking melon seeds. I pinched my leg hard, making my eyes quickly turned red. As I passed by those Andeses, sure enough, I was called to a stop after just a few steps. Mrs. Liu, who lives across from me, exclaimed with concern. "Oh, dear Mrs. Feng, what's wrong? Who's been bullying you so late at night? Why are you crying?" I sniffled a few times and replied, "And no one's bullying me. It's just that I feel so sorry for my sister-in-law." Instantly, the flames of gossip ignited in the hearts of these Andes. They all hurriedly asked, "Is it Wan? That girl? What happened to her?" I wiped the tears from the corner of my seaming to calm my emotions before slowly speaking. "I don't know what's going on, but Wan hasn't had her period for over 3 months now. Today, as soon as she smelled meat at the dinner table, she felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. Earlier this evening, my mother-in-law bought her some crabs, but she had only eaten 2 or 3 when she started having stomach pains." Sigh. Maybe it's because the college entrance exam is approaching, and this girl one is under a lot of stress, so it's probably just gastroenteritis. Several aunties exchanged glances. One of them spoke up. "Now that you mention it, I remember seeing your sister-in-law not long ago, and she seemed a bit heavier than before." Really. I pretended to know nothing. Maybe because I see her every day, I didn't notice. "I have to go now. Aunties, W1 is waiting for me at home with the medicine." After saying that, I hurried off toward the pharmacy. At the moment I turned around, a slight curve formed at the corner of my mouth. No news travels faster than among the aunties. By the time I returned home, Fong Wan was already feeling much better. She was lying on the sofa eating the bird's nest I had bought. When she saw me, her face was full of impatience. "Why are you so slow just to buy some medicine?" my mother-in-law chimed in from the side. "If you had been any later, you might not have even seen one. I really don't know whose sister-in-law is like you. You don't even know how to care for your sister-in-law. Don't you find it ridiculous to say such a thing? Living off me, eating my food, drinking my drinks, I've paid the money, and I've put in the effort. Yet now everyone is blaming me. How shameless. But on the surface, I still show concern for Fong Wanwan. I prepared the medicine and hot water and handed them to Fong Wanwan. Little sister, eat quickly. It wasn't gastroenteritis at all. So Fun Wan naturally wouldn't take the medicine. Moreover, you shouldn't take medicine randomly during pregnancy. She rolled her eyes at me and said haughtily, put it there. I'll take it later. This won't do. Little sister, if you're sick and uncomfortable, you should take your medicine early. Delaying isn't good for your health. I stepped forward and held the medicine up to Fun Wan's mouth. Fong Wanwan directly reached out and slapped the medicine out of my hand. Sister-in-law, are you deaf? Can't you understand what I'm saying? I already told you I'll take it later. Seeing Fong Wan's impatience all over her face, my mother-in-law also told me to get lost. I obediently placed the medicine on the table and then returned to the bedroom. As soon as I entered, I took a photo with my hand, which had been slapped red by Fong Wanwan holding the medicine, and uploaded it to my social media feed with the caption, "Sigh, my sister-in-law is sick, but refuses to take medicine. It's heartbreaking soon." Aunt Lou from across the street commented, "Maybe she's not really sick." I saw it, but deliberately didn't reply. After a while, Aunt Lou sent me a private message. "Shirao Tang, I'm afraid your Wan isn't sick." I pretended to be puzzled and replied, "If it's not an illness, then what is it, Auntie? Do you understand Wan's symptoms? Can you make her feel more comfortable? I'm willing to pay any amount. You're such a good kid to your sister-in-law. To be honest, don't get mad. But I think she's pregnant." I sent a shocked emoji and immediately refuted it. "That's impossible. Auntie, my Wan is well-behaved and sensible. She's about to take the college entrance exam in 6 months. How could she possibly be pregnant? Really, don't doubt it. Take her to the hospital with your mother-in-law for a checkup." I think that girl Fong Wan is not honest. I've seen her go out several times late at night. Auntie, you must have seen wrong. My Wan isn't that kind of person. Auntie, I'm going to make some porridge for Wan to drink. It's getting late. You should rest early, too, you child. Why won't you believe it? Looking at the chat history with Auntie Lou, a faint smile curled at the corner of my mouth. Early the next morning, as I walked out of the bedroom, I saw my mother-in-law storming in from outside. As she walked, she cursed under her breath. Those wretched women. They actually said they saw my Wan's belly getting bigger. That she's pregnant. Their mouths are so filthy." Fun Wan, who lived across from me, happened to open her door and come out just then. Upon hearing my mother-in-law's words, her face instantly turned pale. Hearing the commotion, my mother-in-law turned to look at Fong Wanwan, but her eyes instinctively fell on Fong Wanwan's belly. I saw my mother-in-law's eyes suddenly narrow. Fun Wanwan nervously covered her stomach with her hands and spoke up. "Mom, who's spreading such nonsense? Their mouth is so foul. I'll tear their lips off." My mother-in-law didn't say a word, but instead carefully lipped Fong Wanwan up and down. The expression on my mother-in-law's face as I saw it made my heart grow even colder. It's truly ironic, it seems. My mother-in-law actually believes these words to some extent. After all, what mother doesn't understand her own child? She knows exactly what kind of person Fong Wan is. It's just that in my previous life, she was biased towards her own daughter. Fun Wan continued speaking. "Mom, I've just gained some weight recently. Those gossipy people must be jealous of how well our family is doing. I'm about to take the college entrance exam and become a university student, which is making them envious." Her mother-in-law thought for a moment, then nodded, feeling it made sense. "That's true. I've been buying you a lot of delicious food lately, so it's normal for you to gain some weight." A faint smile tugged at the corner of Fong Wanwan's lips. But after taking a few bites of the breakfast on the table, she didn't eat anymore. Just before leaving for school, she commanded me, "I've gained weight. My clothes are too small. Buy me a few larger sizes, both tops and pants." I spoke up. "Wan, why don't you pick them out online yourself? Send me the links once you've chosen, and I'll buy them. Your taste is better than your sister-in-law's." Fun Wan snorted and agreed. But she didn't send product links. Instead, she directly sent payment request links. I couldn't see what she bought. I could only pay. I smiled and paid the money. The next day, the clothes arrived. When the courier delivered the package, Fun Wan hadn't returned from school yet. After signing for it, I glanced at the product information on the delivery bag. As expected, the words maternity were extremely prominent. I smiled, and after the courier left, I found a bag to put all the packages in and left the house. After going out, I bought some snacks at the supermarket. On my way back, I headed toward the group of aunties at Lusami and called out, "Shirao Tang, where have you been?" I waved the bag in my hand. "Yesterday, I gave one some money and asked her to buy some clothes online. The clothes have arrived, so I brought them back for her. As I finished speaking, the bag in my hand tore and the package fell out. The side with the product information was facing up. Aunt Lu quickly glanced at it and exchanged looks with the people around her. Aunt Lu spoke directly. Xiao Tang, how did your Wan buy maternity clothes? I replied, Wan has gained some weight recently, and maternity clothes come in larger sizes, so they're more comfortable to wear. Upon hearing this, Adlu immediately clicked her tongue. I'm afraid it's not that simple. I spoke earnestly. Auntie, you're overthinking it. My Wan has always been well-behaved, obedient, and sensible. Aunt Lu pursed her lips and said nothing. Smiling, I took out the snacks I was holding in my other hand and shared them with Aunt Lu and the others. And Lu immediately beamed with joy. Oh, you're such a good child, treating your sister-in-law so well. She's already so old. If she wants clothes, your mother-in-law should be the one buying them for her. Yet, here you are buying her clothes and picking up her packages. When I was at home before, I could hear her either being sarcastic towards you or shouting at you. I smiled slightly. It's fine. Wan is still young. Back home, I placed the package in the delivery locker at the entrance, making it look untouched. When Fun Wan returned, she took the package out and went straight into her room, closing the door tightly. It wasn't until dinner time that Fun Wan changed her clothes and came out, walking and talking. Mom, I think this dress I bought is too big. There's really no visible difference between plus-sized women's clothing and maternity wear. Fun Wan twisted around in front of the mirror and exclaimed loudly, this dress doesn't fit at all. It makes me look like I'm pregnant. Forget it. I won't return it. There's no shipping insurance and returning it costs money. Fun W one side and sat down at the dining table, appearing to be quite frugal watching her put on this little act. I couldn't help but want to laugh since becoming pregnant. Fun W1's appetite has grown a bit larger than before, but afraid of being noticed by her mother-in-law and worried about gaining too much weight, she has been eating very little lately. However, the consequence of eating so little was that Fun Wan fainted from low blood sugar at school. Fearing something might happen to her, the school immediately called an ambulance. Once she was taken to the hospital, the pregnancy could no longer be kept a secret. My mother-in-law hurriedly rushed to the hospital. I knew that the slander from my past life was about to come. I arrived at the hospital half an hour later than my mother-in-law. As soon as I entered the ward, my mother-in-law's slap came at me, accompanied by a sharp scream. You vile woman. You poisonous wretch. How dare you harm my daughter? How can you be so malicious? On the hospital bed, Fun Wan lay there with re-ened eyes surrounded by her school teachers who frowned as they looked at me. Naturally, I wasn't about to stand there and get hit. After dodging the blow, I asked knowingly what happened. Fong Wan's teacher stepped forward to restrain the mother-in-law, signaling her to calm down. Then, with a complicated expression, she turned to me and said, Missy, did you know that Fong Wan is pregnant? I was completely stunned. How is that possible? Wan is still in school. She's usually well-behaved and sensible. How could she be pregnant? You wicked woman. How dare you say that? It was you who had someone harm my daughter. My poor Wan. What did I do in my past life to end up with a daughter-in-law like you? The mother-in-law pounded the ground, wailing loudly. The school teacher explained, Missy, Fong Wan has accused you of hiring someone to assault her, resulting in her pregnancy. If this is true, we will report it to the police and involve the authorities. I gripped my phone tightly, my lips trembling slightly. Just as I was about to say something, a familiar voice came from the doorway of the hospital room, shouting, What's going on here? Hearing Aunt Lu's voice, my brow twitched, and I slipped the phone back into my pocket. Aunt Lu had already walked in from outside the door. Hearing someone ask, the mother-in-law became even more worked up, wailing and pointing at me. This wretched woman hired someone to harm my daughter. Wan is so young, always obedient and sensible. And now she's pregnant. Poisonous woman. So vicious. How can her heart be so wicked all these years? Our Fong family has never treated her poorly in the slightest, and she dares to treat my precious daughter like this. And Lu glanced at Fong Wan lying pale on the bed, then looked at the mother-in-law and suddenly let out a cold laugh. You say your Wan is obedient and sensible. Who are you trying to fool? The school teacher, who was already prepared to take out her phone and call the police, suddenly stopped. And Lu crossed her arms and looked at my mother-in-law, speaking disdainfully. I've seen it many times. Your Fong Wan sneaking out of the house late at night being all lovey-dovey with some guy outside. Is the truth out now? And the pregnancy can't be hidden anymore, so she's pushing the blame onto her sister-in-law. What a wicked little girl. How can her heart be so malicious? The mother-in-law was taken aback for a moment. Fong Wan's hands tightly gripped the bedsheets and quilt cover, and as she spoke, Tears began to stream down her face. Auntie Lou, I've always seen you getting along well with my sister. Are you now slandering me just to help her speak? I also have my reputation to protect. Who's slandering you? A.L. retorted on the spot. I warned her sister-in-law earlier that you were pregnant, but she didn't believe me. She praised you for being sensible, well-behaved, and obedient, saying you couldn't possibly do such a thing. We even have the chat records. ATL pulled out the chat records from that day between her and me on WeChat and showed them to the people around. Fong Wanwan's face instantly turned pale. It landed at Fong Wanwan's nose and scolded her. Don't believe me? Go ask the neighbors who doesn't know how well your sister-in-law treats you on a daily basis. She goes out late at night to buy you medicine when you're sick, gives you money for clothes, and often buys groceries and cooks for you. On the other hand, you're always shouting at her and losing your temper. How can you be such an ungrateful brat? Fun clenched her fists tightly, her back teeth almost grinding to dust. Since she married my brother, it's only natural for her to be good to me. What's so special about that? The teachers around them listened to Fong Wan's words, and their gazes toward her changed. Fun Wan continued, just relying on Granny Lou. I mean, Mrs. Lou alone isn't very convincing. Even with chat records, it could be fabricated evidence she and my sister-in-law prepared in advance. It doesn't prove anything. You said we could ask other neighbors. Fine, then bring another one over. The person Fun Wan found arrived quickly. When I saw that person, I gave a cold internal laugh. It was a man who lived in the same neighborhood as my family. Uncle Wang, please tell us what you saw that night. After speaking, Fun Wan closed her eyes, looking as if she had resigned herself to fate. The man she called Uncle Wang nodded, coughed twice, and slowly began to speak. It was a night several months ago. I did see Wan Wan being taken out by Xiang. At the time, Wan Wan seemed a bit unclear in her mind, leaning on Xiang's shoulder, and there was another man with them. I clicked my tongue softly. Fun Wan's eyes instantly reened. It was that night. My sister-in-law got me drunk and took me out. I looked at Uncle Wang. Is there any evidence? Uncle Wang snorted coldly, flicked his sleeve, and pointed at me. How could I have imagined at the time that there could be such a wicked sister-in-law who would treat her own sister-in-law like this? The school teachers around looked at each other. Finally, Fun Wan's homeroom teacher spoke up. I think we should call the police and let them handle this matter. Of course, I had no objections to that. However, Fong Wan opposed it. Everyone turned to look at her. My heart is not as malicious as my sister-in-law's. After all, she is my brother's wife, and for my brother's sake, I will show her more consideration. I don't plan to report my sister-in-law to the police, but after the child in my belly is born, I will hand it over to my sister-in-law to raise. She will have to support it through college, buy a house, a car, and see it through to marriage. Of course, by that time, I should have established my own family. Don't worry, I won't take advantage of you. No matter what happens to him, then you won't be held responsible. Fun Wan's words truly opened my eyes. So, she wants me to raise her child for free. After the child is settled and established, she'll take them back to support her in old age. What a clever plan. How shameless. My mother-in-law nodded in agreement beside me. Wan makes a good point. Even though Sidon is heartless and malicious, we don't want her to go to jail. After all, she is still our Fong family's daughter-in-law. We're not that cruel. Wan's conditions are not excessive. If Siding agrees, this matter will be settled. Otherwise, my mother-in-law looked at me with a threatening expression. I smiled back at her. Let's just call the police. After saying that, I immediately took out my phone and dialed the police. Fong Wan's face instantly paled, and she glared at me through gritted teeth. Sister-in-law, I was willing to forgive you, but I never expected you to be so ungrateful. With Uncle Wang as a witness here, do you think you can get away with it? Then let's see if I can get away with it or not. I glanced at Fong Wan. It just goes to show how foolish and malicious Fong Wan is. She doesn't have the slightest bit of legal knowledge. Do you really think that just by relying on some Uncle Wang, you can shift the blame onto me? After hearing Fong W.S., Aunt Lou curled her lips and said, this young girl may be young, but she's quite cunning. It's just that her intelligence doesn't seem to be up to par. The police arrived very quickly. My mother-in-law immediately burst into tears and rushed forward, claiming that I had hired someone to harm her daughter, who was still in school. Fun Wan also covered her face and cried. The police questioned Uncle Wine, and he firmly nodded along, saying that he had indeed seen me and a man taking Fun Wan out on a night several months ago. Fun Wan's tears kept flowing. Actually, I wanted to report it to the police the day after the incident, but considering she is my sister-in-law after all, I didn't want to ruin my brother's happiness, so I held back until now. I never expected that she would not only deny it now, but also find this woman surnamed Lou to help her cover it up. Aunt Lou, tell me, what benefits did my sister-in-law give you? I'll double it for you. Okay, please don't harm me. Aunt Lou, who is already hot-tempered, exploded upon hearing Fun Wan's tearful words. What nonsense are you talking about? Who harmed you? Everything I said is the truth. Police. I tethered at Aunt Lou's sleeve and shook my head at her. At this point, Fun Wan and her mother have already shown their true colors. Without substantial evidence, saying more would just be a war of words. I played the recording from my phone. What should I do? I think I'm pregnant. When will you take me to the hospital for a checkup? Go by myself. Where would I get the money? All my money has been used for your living expenses. All right, enough talk. You have to take me to the hospital for a checkup this weekend. That's it. I can't talk anymore. My sister-in-law is still at home, and it wouldn't be good if she overheard. Besides that, I also have a few video clips. A video of Fun W1 going for a prenatal checkup with a young man. In the video, the young man looks impatient, but Fun Wan holds onto his arm, not letting him leave. I'm about to take the college entrance exam. What am I supposed to do when my belly gets bigger by then? Give me the money, and I'll get an abortion. Go and fight it yourself. I don't have any money either. Where's your money? Not a single cent. Or do you just not want to give it? This is your child, too. I didn't ask you to sleep with me either. I just said it casually. Who knew you'd agree? The video abruptly ended, but Fun Wan's face and the young man's face were both captured clearly. Aunt Lou covered her mouth and said, "Whack Hein, isn't this your son?" That's right. In my previous life, after I died, my soul did not immediately dissipate. Following Fun Wan, I found out whose child she was carrying. So after being reborn in this life, I secretly followed Fong Wan multiple times and finally captured a video of her meeting with Wachen's son. Wan was also aware of this matter, but it was clear that both in his previous life and this one, they were unwilling to pay for Fong W's abortion. Fong Wan herself didn't have enough money. So after being discovered, these people joined forces to shift all the blame onto me. Fun Wan's face turned completely pale with panic after watching the video. Her school teachers also showed expressions of disappointment and immediately advised Fong Wan to withdraw from the school. I also informed the police that I intend to sue Wan, her mother, and Wan Duchen for infringing upon my right to reputation. My mother-in-law screamed, pointing at me and cursing, "You wicked woman, I am your mother-in-law, and you dare to sue me. I'll make my son divorce you." Believe it or not, in my past life, I was still a hopeless romantic. My husband worked away from home all year round while I stayed at home, letting my mother-in-law and sister-in-law live in my house, spend my money, and taking care of them without any complaints. After being slandered by Fong Wan, my husband came back only to slap me the moment he saw me, demanding to know why I would treat his sister like that. He didn't believe my explanation. He thought his sister was well-behaved and obedient, and he believed his mother was kind-hearted, incapable of slandering or spreading rumors about me. He joined his mother in calling me a venomous woman. It was then that I realized even though I had married Fong Tianming in his eyes, I was always an outsider. "You don't need to give me anything. I've already prepared the divorce agreement." I sneered coldly. Ever since I was reborn, I've been gradually transferring all my assets to my parents' names. In the 3 years of marriage to Fong Tianming, he never gave me a single cent, and I never asked him for any money. Nowadays, if we get divorced, he won't get a single penny from me. On the contrary, I will rightfully claim my share of what's under his name. After leaving the hospital, I went back to the neighborhood with Aunt Lou all the way. Aunt Lou kept complaining about Fong Wan and her mother. "Auntie, why are you at the hospital today?" Auntie Lou began to speak. "Oh, my relative is hospitalized and I went to visit today. I didn't expect to run into you all. It really infuriates me. How can there be such shameless mothers-in-law and sisters-in-law? It's a good thing you've come to your senses and decided to get a divorce. All these years with Fong Tianming not even at home. Haven't they just been treating you like a free nanny to serve his mother and his sister?" Auntie Lou was indignant. I smiled slightly after returning to the residential area. I headed home while Aunt Lou couldn't wait to tell her friends about what had happened at the hospital today. Once I got home, the movers I had contacted also arrived. I had them pack up all of Fong Wan and her mother's belongings and throw them out. After that, I started contacting lawyers to proceed with suing Fong Wan and her mother for spreading rumors about me as well as filing for divorce from Fong Tianming. Fong Wan was discharged from the hospital the next day, and after that, she and her mother came back together. Along with them was Fun Tianming. I had just opened the door when Fong Tianming slap came flying at me. Xiang, you wretched woman. Is this how you treat my mother and sister when I'm not home? I certainly wouldn't just stand there and let Fun Tianming hit me. So, I dodged to the side. Fong Wanwan stood beside Fong Tianming and screamed, "Sit! How dare you throw out all my and my mom's things? Do you want to die?" With Fong Tianming by her side, she seemed to gain more confidence. I looked coldly at the family of three and said, "This is my house. What does it have to do with you? How I handle things?" Fun's mother looked furious and exasperated. "What do you mean your house? You married into our Fun family. So, this house belongs to the Fong family. Don't be ungrateful when we're giving you face. The ones being ungrateful are you, aren't you? The court summons will be delivered to you in a few days. Remember to show up." Not wanting to waste any more words on these people, I directly called the police. There is a camera installed at the entrance of my house, and it clearly captured Fong Tianming trying to hit me just now. Fun Tianming looked at me with a gloomy face. "Sit. It seems you're deliberately trying to ruin this family. Otherwise, how could these three be from the same family? I've made myself so clear, yet they still don't understand. But now just looking at these three in front of me makes me sick." When Fong Tianming was taken away by the police, he still glared at me coldly. "Don't you regret this?" "Regret? I already regret it. I regret marrying someone like him." I couldn't be bothered to waste words on the three people in front of me. So, I directly called my lawyer to handle the follow-up matters. Not long after I died in my previous life, Funny and Ming brought another woman home. From their conversation, I knew that Funny and Ming had long since betrayed me. I was at home taking care of his parents while he was out having fun with other women. So in this life after being reborn, I also hired a private detective to go to the city where Fong Tianming was working and obtained evidence of his betrayal. With this evidence, suing Fong Tianming became much easier during the divorce. I took away more than half of the property under Fong Tianming's name. As for what was under my name, he didn't get a single penny. This infuriated Fong Wanwan and her mother. According to Aunt Lu, the mother and daughter have been tarnishing my reputation everywhere, spreading bad things about me. But aside from the Fong family's relatives, not many of their fellow villagers believed it. After all, the incident where Fong Wan got pregnant from fooling around and tried to pin it on me had been exaggerated and spread far and wide by Aunt Lu. Many people were extremely disgusted with Fong Wanwan and her mother. Naturally, few paid any attention to their words. However, Fong Wan actually hired people to beat me up, force me, and even wanted to film a video. Fun Tianming and Fong's mother were behind the scenes giving advice and planning, knowing their personalities. How could I not be prepared? I pretended to be caught by them, but at the critical moment, the police broke in and arrested them all. Fong Wan was the mastermind, and Fong Tianming and his mother also could not escape imprisonment. Not only that, but the company where Fong Tianming worked also fired him. Upon learning about this, his new lover packed up and fled overnight. On the day the court hearing took place, I also appeared in court hearing the verdicts for the Fong family members. I felt no great turmoil in my heart. This is what they deserve. Compared to my death without a whole body in my previous life, it's still too late. After returning home, I sold the house that had once been occupied by the Fong family. Ever since I came back to life, I've been wanting to go home to see my parents, but without getting revenge, I feel too ashamed to face them. Now that the dust has settled, I can finally go back to find them. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.